Thanks, Roland. Hi, my name is Matthew Lewis, and I'm here with my partner, Tyler Nielsen. I'm here very excitedly to present our design for the Fisher Island Bayview 3 projects. We were very fortunate to be brought in by Lloyd and Roland to participate in the initial design competition with the additional 3 firms, and so here we are to present our design, and we really felt, I guess, just starting out and looking at the site from a site analytical standpoint, that there were certain issues with the current configuration of the space and how it was used and circulated, and just the landscape and just the overall visual of the site. And we felt it was important to really make the space function in a usable and kind of garden-esque style way, meaning we wanted it to feel timeless, that it wasn't modern, it wasn't stuck in some dated period, but something that was a garden that was going to grow into itself, almost kind of like a botanical garden in the sense where we could pick some beautiful trees and select them and place them throughout the site, so over time the space itself just becomes more and more beautiful. The other main goal was to really kind of streamline the circulation to the site, meaning we have several layers of circulation. We have the vehicular to the garage, to the parking areas. We have the guest access arriving in those cars, whether they're the residents or the guests themselves, how they're going from the cars to the house, and bicycle, etc. And perhaps the biggest push in our design was to really eliminate the distracting elements and create really one of the most beautiful and most attractive properties on Fisher Island. And we felt that currently with the way things were arranged, from the handicap parking to the site signage and the painting on the street, that really distracted from the visual. I mean, if, for example, if I were to own a house right now and walking through the site, there are many elements that when you look at it and you've lived there for many years, you may have become used to. And us as designers and landscape architects, those are the things at the forefront of our distraction, how we can start to eliminate those things. So let me kind of backtrack a little bit. Again, my name is Matthew Lewis, here with my partner Tyler. How do I flip? So our firm, we're a 6-person firm with Tyler and I as the leaders. We've been around. Our firm has been around for 3 years, but in reality, we've got 26 years of experience. Most of it here in South Florida, working with big firms such as EDSA that's done a lot of resort and hotel and residential work in South Florida. And then Tyler and I, we both met at Raymond Jungles, who's known as perhaps the preeminent landscape architect in South Florida, the Southeast, the Caribbean, what have you. And so we really, being the leaders of Raymond's firm for many years, we certainly felt the confidence several years back to start our own firm and do things even better. And I think that's shown in the solution to our project. And even though we may be considered a young firm, we know how to get things built. We know how projects run from start to finish, from A to B. It's not just a concept that you hand off to a contractor and it gets built. It's a long process. It's many years of going through the design process, doing these sort of presentations, working with contractors, understanding budgets and sticking to those. And as Tyler can attest, most of our projects go through a process of understanding cost, and I would say that 99% of the projects out there are over budget to start from the initial design, and so we're always looking at ways to keep that concept intact and to work to always kind of create that vision throughout the process of the project. And some of the projects that you may know that we've worked on over the years would include 1111 Lincoln Road, both the Plaza and the Penthouse Garage. We worked on the Miami Beach Botanical Garden. We worked on Soho House and countless residential projects throughout South Florida, the Caribbean, Mexico, basically anywhere, Asia, Middle East, etc. So again, just to reiterate, we know how to get things built. I think it's, and it's easy for somebody to say that, but I think where our value is the additional thought and interest and design process that we bring to it. That if you can take those initial thoughts and really kind of big grand ideas and know how to get things built, and that's where we as a firm and you as our end users and clients are going to be, I think we're all going to be very happy in the end. So I'm going to get into the design now. Obviously, you guys live on Fisher Island. Here's the island. Its proximity to South Beach. The pink box indicating it's the site location. To be honest, I haven't spent a ton of time on Fisher until this project came along, and it's obviously a unique neighborhood or residential living style of living to South Florida, and we appreciate that. And we kind of look around at some of the other different projects, and we really feel that there's a lot of similarities throughout the island, and it's not that we're trying to be different. As I said before, we're trying to bring a good sense of design to it, and it's not just like trying to create a design statement. We're trying to understand what the issues are and solving those issues and making something that's beautiful, that's timeless, that feels like Florida, that ultimately feels like home. So, as I said previously, the residents, those of you that live there now, you see this view every day, several times a day when you're leaving home, when you're coming back, and it's these are your towers. It's 3 towers, and it's a place where it's a very unique environment, and I think for Tyler and I and our crew in our studio, we see certain things that like the signage, the parking, the paint, the fireplaces. That to us really detract from the arrival sequence, and most of you go straight to the garage, and it's never an experience that you want to take in along the front facade, because really when you start to look at it, it's a parking area, it's a drop off, it's a means of going from A to B, and it's not something that's overly usable or functional, and we thought that you guys really have the opportunity, especially in the nicer times of year, to really make this a functional, beautiful, and really something to be proud of for your homes, and hopefully even, when we design projects like this, we're not just designing space to design space, but we design space to make it usable and to create value to the project. And what we like to say is, your house may be 1,000 square feet, but if we design the outdoor correctly, we can make your house feel like 2,000 square feet, and that's really our approach to this project. There's some of the other things that we feel that you can really improve upon is the arrival to the garage itself, and again, it's kind of dated, it's kind of overgrown, it's not entirely beautiful, but again, this is something that you're experiencing every day, and we feel that we could really increase the experience and the beauty of this. Some of the details that you see, and this is one of the things that was really distracting or detracting to us, was the variety of different materials. You've got the black handrails, you've got the dated tiles on the steps, you've got the kind of large and imposing lighting, and certain details that are, it's just kind of a mishmash of things, and our approach to design is to really simplify everything. We try to simplify the circulation, we try to simplify the materials, and the real texture and variety comes from the planting, and I think that contrast of simple materials and simple circulation contrasts with that beautiful with the beautiful landscape of different greens and different textures and sizes and shapes and shadows and that sort of thing is really going to help make this space beautiful and kind of getting back to the circulation. As I said before, it's really an A to B sort of experience here. Whether it's the guests parking and the guests coming to the space, they're going from their car to their house, but that's really all you can do. And we feel that there's some pretty interesting opportunities to create outdoor seating areas to have that more of a botanic feel to the space, and really start to look to rearrange the parking. So the parking is not the front door to your space, but it's something that's more beautiful, more graceful, prettier, really. And so as we start to get into this, we're not just looking at the approach, but what happens when you're actually leaving your building, and you're kind of coming through the dark hallways with the terracotta tiles, and you're going through these outdoor corridors that lead to these views of cars or people's adjacencies or buildings across the way. And we feel that by rearranging some of the parking areas and providing layers of landscape, that we can really start to create our own view and start to create your own experience for the project. Again, you look at some of the details through here, and I know that there's a parking garage slab that we're sitting on, and we're never going to be able to encroach upon that. But there's certain things like stairs leading to nowhere, and details aren't high enough for seat benching, and railings that frankly aren't that pretty. And so we really want to work the land to make it a lot more functional and work better for the site. Again, there's all sorts of circulation going through the site, as you can see in some of these site photos, the ups and downs, the 5 different ways that one person can go from the street to the upper level. And it's really our goal to make that a lot more simple. And you can see in the diagram here, we've got the parking garage, we've got the handicap parking, we've got the surface parking that nobody really knows how to use it. That you could go out there at certain times and it's a parallel condition. You can go out there, it's an angled condition, and others you can go in, it's a straight condition. And is it car parking? Is it cart parking? Is it bicycle parking? Who knows? And that sort of confusion leads to the circulation into the buildings themselves, as I mentioned, with the 5 different ways of the ups and downs. And really, if you look at this diagram, it's just a series of walkways and no creation of space. And so when we kind of step back and we think about it, like, what do we want to do? We want to make the arrival experience much nicer. We want to simplify the parking and not make it the centerpiece, but kind of push it to the sides where it kind of becomes lost in landscape while still being as efficient and user-friendly as possible. And I think the biggest thing for us is really just simplifying how somebody goes from the lower level to the upper level. And instead of having the 3 staircases or 4 staircases and a couple different ramps, like, why not have one big staircase that unifies the community? And then we can start to look at spaces up at the second level, the upper level, that are useful, that are usable, that there may be fountains, there may be built-in seating areas and loose furniture that you can go down and you can have a drink at night, that you can get up and read the paper, or go down with your dog, or hang out with your grandkids, or or be with your neighbors. And so when you look at this diagram, really shows how we've started to control in a good way the things that were a detriment before. For example, in the previous scheme, we have the handicap parking at the far left of the plan. But that was the first thing that you saw when you approached your building. It was the blue and the white stripes of the paint. It was the yellow of the bollards. It was the signage. It was the everything that wasn't necessarily beautiful. Not that handicap parking couldn't be beautiful, but we felt there's a much better way to approach it with an elegant water feature that could be like a 12-inch deep element, but it provides several things. It provides a beautiful piece at the front, and and it provides white noise. And you ask, what is white noise? Well, white noise is that noise that water features create. That it's a subtle overflow, and that splashing that kind of permeates the space. And we've shifted the parking, but we've done it in a way that the parking itself doesn't look like parking when there aren't cars there. And what I mean by that is the hardscape and the patterning of the hardscape permeate the space. So the lines otherwise created by the parking actually filter through the space. So that's the continuity of form and pattern that not only functions in a certain way as a parking, but it filters through the space. So there's a continuity. There's not this mix of different patterns. And I think the nicest thing is this kind of democratic, kind of like really grand gesture of having this big staircase that leads up to the space, leads up and down to the space. And what's nice about that is like everybody's coming to one central point and coming up or coming down. And I think that's nice from a design standpoint, because you're getting to interact with your neighbors, and you're creating this sort of grand gesture to the space that instead of having these outdoor hallways, you're actually creating an entry plaza. And all the views coming out from the garden kind of take on that garden style, meaning that we've got layers of planting that come through the space that we're not letting our neighbors control the views, or we're not letting the vehicles or the cars control the views, but we're controlling the views by creating our own space and creating layers of landscape. You want to say something?
Oh, and the layers of landscape that Matt was talking about also adds to a layer of privacy for the first floor units, that as individuals come to and from the building, that this gracious entrance not only provides this backdrop for the entire building, but also provides this buffer for those ground floor units. So it doesn't have, the ground floor units do not have this intrusion of car lights shining into their units, and nor is this constant, auditory intrusion of people speaking as they walk through, as Matt was previously stating, that the white noise of the water feature really envelops the entire space as a garden.
And to that point, you can start to see in this plan, and I'm not sure if you can see my mouse or not, but now you can see that we've shifted, the parking. We've almost kind of mirrored it to the other side, and some people may construe that as they're putting too much parking on our side, but I think the point with that is we're trying to make the entrance, the car arrival entrance, beautiful for everyone, and then by shifting the parking and the handicap ramp to the other side, you actually may never see it because of that layer. As you work your way from the building, you can see this layering of landscape that protects that view of that similar image that I showed before of these lines of cars, creating that, those cars creating right now the facade to the building, and so now we've got this grand staircase coming up. We've got this beautiful outdoor seating area with built-in seating. I think there could be some really beautiful movable furniture that you can create your own space. We don't want this to be static, just like we don't want the people using it to be static. And so now everything is starting to flow, and instead of having those areas that weren't accessible, for example, on the far left where number 3 is, we feel that can be a functional lawn, that by taking down some of the walls within those those entry porticos, that you can make these spaces functional, that you can have a bocce court, that you can have a lawn where your grandkids or the kids coming over can play. You've got this beautiful water feature that when you look at the plan, each corresponding pod has this overflowing has this overflow element that works with each one of those pods. So even though that water feature is shifted to the left, it still interacts with the entire site, and it's one with the site. And just as the water feature may be a little bit bigger to the one side, we do have this really graceful kind of open plaza area that you can meander through instead of going through these very sterile paths. Now you've got space, and most importantly, now you have a garden. It's not just a sidewalk anymore. So as you go through the package. You already have some existing trees there, which we feel we want to keep as many as possible, and a lot of the ones that may move because of this are moved very easily, and those plants that we want to bring in are plants that make you feel like you're in Florida. That maybe something like you go down to Fairchild or you go to Viscaya or somewhere that's kind of iconic to South Florida, but we want to bring in things that are unique and different, and not necessarily to make a statement, but to show the variety and show interest and show a seasonal variety of blooming and really creating an environment where birds and butterflies and that sort of thing can thrive and be of interest to the guests. So now we're getting into some of the images, and I think when you think back or you think about the way you enter your space and the signage and all the the handicap stuff and all the railings, what we really try to do is just simplify it, like make it really clean, make it really beautiful, and really tie the whole space together. Instead of thinking about this is building 1, this is building 2, this is building 3, this is our garden. And I think I know that by opening up some of these spaces, it really becomes something that I think all of you can be very proud of. And I'm confident that the budget that we're given, that we can deliver on something, on something equal or very similar to what this is. And as you move through the site, you can see these different overflow elements that react to adjacent pods and pods that are visual from a distance. So again, even though that water feature feels like it's weighted to one side, it really isn't. The way it meanders through the site, there's a visual and physical connection throughout. You can start to see, just the really at the end, like we made it like very simple. Like it's really simple, but it's beautiful. You have space and you have function there, and even though some of these model shots at the end without the landscape make the cars very visible, when you start to bring in these layers of landscape and layers of vegetation, a lot of that really goes away, and a lot of the vegetation really holds back the noise and the not so nice visual quality of the cars passing by. I don't know if I missed anything or if you guys have any thoughts. That may have been a bit long-winded, so I apologize. But nonetheless, you can start to see some of the varieties of plants that we're thinking of, and I think it's important that maybe we bring in some unique palm species from the Caribbean, from South America, from subtropical regions. But it's also very important to us to incorporate a lot of native plants, whether pigeon plums or native understory trees, stoppers, native palms, thatch palms, Everglades palms, that sort of thing. It's really important to have a really nice, this really nice botanical cross section to the site. That it's only going to make it that much more beautiful. And I'm just flipping through some examples of plants that we're thinking about, and we don't deal a ton with color, and it's not to say that if somebody has a request that we put in something red or something pink or whatever, but our gardens are often very green with different leaf textures and different leaf sizes that and some of these flowers that you see in there are very subtle flowers and have a really beautiful smell, but there's a lot of green with maybe at certain entry points we do incorporate a little bit of color to help reinforce that entrance, the notion of the entrance. And I think the furniture may be. I think the furniture is something that we're going to work through, and I think it wants to be a balance of things that are, it could be cast in place, or it could be cut stone benches, it could be cast in place concrete, but I think it wants to have that timeless feel to it. But it also needs to tie in with the architecture, and everybody's got their own tastes and their own styles, and I know as designers we need to be cognizant of that because we're designing for the public here, and but we're excited for the opportunity, and I think I know at the end, if we can do what we're talking about doing, that you guys, this project will stand apart from all others on Fisher Island, and not because we've gone over the top, or not because we're using gold brick, or not because we're using these trees from Siberia or something, but because we're doing it right and doing it well, and it's beautiful. So that's all. We've got our cost estimate in here, and every project that we've worked on has gone over, and in speaking with Lloyd, I told him that 99% of the projects that we work on need to be value engineered. What does that mean? Well, value engineering is taking and designing an idea and thinking it's going to be a certain price, and knowing and working our way back to maintaining the vision at a price that is agreeable to everyone. So, and I'm confident we can do that. We've done it on every project, and we look forward to doing it on this one. So thanks, everyone.